I was laid off by my company right after my 35th birthday. My engineer husband told me to just stay home and look beautiful while he took care of making a living. To help support our family, I suggested we start a vlog together. We became quite popular, and our lives started to improve. In the second year of my unemployment, I was exhausted from both the vlog and taking care of the family. I gained weight and looked increasingly haggard. Although my husband thanked me verbally for my dedication to the family, he secretly harbored murderous intentions towards me.
1.
Doctor, can my wife be cured? She doesn't have a job or social security, and I can't afford to spend so much money. I heard Patrick's disgusted voice as I was wheeled out of the emergency room, my consciousness fading. The doctor's words dashed his hopes. What nonsense are you talking about? She just had a food allergy and has been resuscitated. An hour ago, he brought back a box of glutinous rice balls, saying he bought them specially to cheer me up. Even though there were bite marks on them, I forced myself to eat one to make him happy. Soon, I started having trouble breathing. He made an excuse that his car was being repaired and it was difficult to hail a taxi during rush hour, so he arrived at the hospital after waiting for nearly an hour. After hearing his words, I closed my eyes in despair, unwilling to communicate with him anymore. Once upon a time, he even cared about the temperature of the water he handed me. If it was too hot, he would say it was bad for my throat, and if it was too cold, he would say it was bad for my body. Now, he even forgot the food I was most allergic to. When the nurse pushed me back to the ward, my child came with his backpack. I hadn't seen the child for many days either. Last week, Patrick was invited to the platform's creator conference and took the child to play. He disliked my out-of-shape figure and my inability to dress up, so he told me that he could only bring one family member and asked me to stay at home. I looked at Otto expectantly, wanting to talk to him, but he pouted and put down his tablet. Mom, don't pretend. Allergies aren't that serious. Last time I was allergic to shrimp, I just got a little red rash, and it was fine after applying some medicine. My heart felt like it was suddenly shattered. The caring words I wanted to say got stuck in my throat. Last time my son was allergic to shrimp, I stayed up all night to give him Enfor drip. He was so itchy all over, and I wouldn't let him scratch, so he even scolded me. Now he thinks I'm being dramatic. I saw my son walk behind Patrick, holding up his tablet. The two of them were whispering and laughing happily, not knowing what they were looking at. The glass window behind them betrayed them. On the tablet was a photo of 3 people, vaguely recognizable as Patrick and a woman, holding Otto. That woman was Kylie, the female streamer who often competed with Patrick. A sense of loss enveloped my heart. My eyes were sore and swollen, and the happier they were, the more I wanted to cry. Before I broke down, I gave them the boot. I'm tired. I want to rest by myself. You guys go. Hearing this, my son was actually relieved. Patrick's words were filled with undisguised disgust. You can't even take care of yourself, and now I have to take care of both work and the child. I turned my head away, not wanting to look at them anymore. Since you're fine now, stay here and write the script for next week's video for me. Don't let the account go stale. He took a couple of steps, then suddenly remembered something. By the way, Kylie said she doesn't have much inspiration recently, so you write 4 or 5 for her to choose from. In the past, I would have agreed without hesitation, trying my best to get Patrick to recognize me and gain satisfaction. But today, I didn't hesitate to refuse. I won't write. Patrick was immediately furious. You stay at home all day and don't know what it's like to be tired. The family expenses are so high, you can't be so willful. If you don't write, then get a divorce. Here we go again. He always likes to threaten me with divorce. Whenever he said that, I would always apologize humbly and look for reasons in myself, just to get his forgiveness. I would find all sorts of excuses for him. He is the head of the family, he works hard to make money, and it is normal for him to have a temper. To love someone is to accept them unconditionally. But today, my mood was surprisingly calm, like a still pond that could not be rippled. Before I could speak, he forcefully took his child and left the ward, leaving me no room to refuse. After they left, I could only hear Otto whispering happily, "Dad, When can we go see Kylie's sister again? She's much more fun than Mom. I like playing with her. 2 lines of tears fell down my face. I hadn't had time to say it. Let's get a divorce.
2.
Patrick didn't show up until late the next afternoon. I knew what he was up to. I saw Kylie's social media post, a sumptuous feast, romantic candlelight, and a silhouette of 3 people reflected on the wall. Meeting the right person, finding the right life. Patrick liked the post almost instantly. Patrick, who expects to be waited on hand and foot at home, can actually cook for a female streamer. I turned off my phone and left the hospital with my bag. The hospital fees were high, and as a full-time housewife with no income, I didn't want to waste any more money. Dragging my aching body home, I found that the light was out. To outsiders, Patrick and I were a model couple. He worked hard to make money, and I enjoyed myself at home. But that wasn't the case. He would always mention the pressure of supporting the family and morally blackmail me. As a middle-aged woman with no job, I could only humbly depend on him. I took care of all the household chores myself. But today, I suddenly didn't want to change the light bulb. I was tired. I groped my way inside and heard voices from the study. There's no way. Who told her to be so lucky? That's the most peanut-free cake I could find. Let's try another way. Don't worry. How could I possibly be attached to that old hag? Of course I like you. When she's dead, I'll marry you right away. The feeling of shortness of breath I had yesterday came back to me. I froze in place, listening to Patrick's vicious words, and the thought of his hypocritical attitude made me want to vomit. So, he had deliberately made me allergic. He wanted me dead? I trembled with anger and ran away from home in a daze. Patrick has made a lot of money from his vlog in the past 2 years, and my ideas have naturally been very important. How could this family be carrying such a heavy burden on his shoulders alone? Fine. Since you look down on me so much, I'll let you know how the so-called parasite you despise will gradually destroy you. 3. Patrick looked a little flustered when he found me. I was drinking coffee at the convenience store downstairs in the apartment complex. Lily, why don't you go home? He pulled me out, muttering, "This coffee outside is so expensive and tastes bad." You actually sneaked out to enjoy yourself? Neither I nor our child have eaten dinner tonight. 2 yuan instant coffee, and he calls it enjoyment. When he orders several expensive cups of coffee for Kylie every day, why doesn't he call it expensive? I patiently explained. When I got downstairs, I suddenly had an idea, so I sat here and wrote the script. Of course I'm going to get a divorce, but I'm not willing to let Patrick enjoy the praise of netizens while treating me with such arrogance. Before I leave, I want him to be ruined. Hearing this, Patrick's attitude improved. After telling me to go to the kitchen to cook, he buried himself in the study to read the new script I wrote. I only made myself a bowl of plain noodles, and it wasn't until I finished it that the 2 hungry father and son came out of the room to beg for food. Otto's bossy attitude was exactly like his father's. Why isn't there any food yet? I'm starving. Patrick saw that I only had a bowl of noodles in front of me and flew into a rage. Okay, you only care about yourself. How could you become so selfish? I wiped my mouth slowly. I thought you weren't hungry because neither of you came out. The noodles will get soggy if they sit for too long. The kitchen water is still hot. You can go make yourself a bowl. In the past, I would have urged them to eat, frying the dishes over and over again, and these 2 would still complain that I was bothering them. Now they are blaming me. Otto lost his temper and threw the soup bowl in front of me to the ground. The hot soup splashed on my feet, turning them red. I don't have anything to eat, so you can't eat either. You stay at home all day and don't work. What's wrong with serving me and my dad? I suddenly sneered. Didn't you eat enough at Kylie's sister's place today? Why don't you go there again? 4. Both of them changed their expressions immediately. I only met Kylie today to discuss work. You stay at home all day and just cultivate your small mind. You don't cook me delicious food at home all day. Sister Kylie will treat me to fried chicken and lobster. The father and son sang in unison, looking very indignant. I looked at that ungrateful little white-eyed wolf and smiled bitterly. Your good father only gives me a monthly food allowance of 1,500 yuan. What can I use to cook delicious food for you? Otto loves shrimp, and I only dare to buy it when it's on sale at the supermarket. I'm reluctant to eat it myself, and I leave it all for you too. Now it's my fault? Patrick won't think he's wrong. He picked up Otto and walked towards the door. Let's go. Let's not get entangled with this resentful woman. Dad will take you to eat something delicious. The sound of the door closing forcefully seemed to want to tear the house apart. As expected, Patrick and his son went to Kylie's house. They appeared together on the live broadcast, looking like a loving family of three. The comments below were all cheering. Two funny bloggers got together, and netizens were happy to see it, and the number of fans increased by tens of thousands. Patrick didn't come back for several nights, but he took the script I wrote for him. Without him, I was even more at ease. I started creating my own account and posting some cooking and food videos on it. This type of account is slow to start, but that's not my ultimate goal. Patrick released the new video I wrote for him. It was the end of the year, the college job hunting season, and many children couldn't find jobs, so they complained on the platform. Patrick is in the automotive industry, he is well educated, and he has also eaten the dividends of self-media. I deliberately wrote a sarcastic video for him to complain about these college students. He didn't think there was anything wrong with it, because that's what he usually said at home. He complained that the fresh graduates had high standards and couldn't take off Kong Yiji's long gown. He also didn't forget to belittle me, saying that I was an industry trash that no one wanted, and that I was a parasite if I said it nicely. So, those squinting and mocking expressions were not fake. I just wrote down his true thoughts. He was so proud of himself for making this timely video, and he was sure it would be a hot topic. Unexpectedly, he angered a group of people who were already resentful. It was a complete defeat. A few days ago, he and Kylie had a joint live broadcast, and the topic itself was already very high. With such a video, it directly topped the hot search list, and the comment area was full of abuse. Patrick couldn't stand it anymore, so he pushed open my door and started to question me. Because of his classmates' ridicule, Otto didn't dare to go to school, and he followed behind Patrick, looking at me with hatred. Did you do it on purpose? Write such a video. Lily, this family will be ruined without me.
How dare you?
I put down my phone and looked at him in confusion. As the main body of the account, can I still force you to shoot? You think this way yourself, and you blame me for it? Seeing my strong attitude, he began to threaten me. You're not afraid that I'll divorce you. My eyes lit up, and I looked at him with a smile. Okay, let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau now.
5.
I haven't dressed up in a long time. I put on some makeup and picked out a loose but stylish dress. When I went downstairs, Otto held the car door tightly and glared at me fiercely. This was bought with my dad's money. You're not allowed to sit in it. This car was replaced by Patrick after he became famous. Through the car window, I saw a pink decoration on the passenger seat, and in the most conspicuous place was a sticker that said Kylie's exclusive seat. The selfie that Kylie posted on social media was taken here. No wonder Patrick deliberately lied to me and said the car was sent for repair last time. I pouted. Okay, then I'll take a taxi myself. Patrick frowned, very displeased. Where did you get the money to take a taxi? Did you embezzle your child's allowance and save it for yourself? Otto, a fourth grader, has a weekly allowance of 50 yuan, and I can still embezzle it? You give me 1,500 a month, not 15,000. After saying this, I turned and left without looking back. When I finally got to the Civil Affairs Bureau, the father and son arrived too. We went through the procedures smoothly and entered the cooling-off period for divorce. In another month, I will be able to successfully escape from Patrick's clutches. Otto held Patrick's hand tightly and made a face at me. You don't have to fight with Dad for custody. I'm definitely with him. To say that my heart doesn't hurt is false. The child I have raised with painstaking care for nearly 10 years now looks at me like an enemy. But a quick pain is better than a long pain. I clutched the document in my hand and turned to leave resolutely. Behind me, I could vaguely hear Patrick shouting, Lily, do you think you can bring me down this way? The online sentiment changes every day. Without me, you can just wait to starve.
6.
Patrick's solution was simply to clarify online that the script for the video was due to a staff oversight. Even after the divorce, he didn't forget to use me and push me out as a scapegoat. Kylie also started to defend Patrick, saying tearfully that her brother Patrick was framed. She claimed that she had been busy with work recently and under a lot of pressure, which led to the video being released without being reviewed. Why was she under so much pressure? He started spreading rumors about his ex-wife, which is me, saying that I was spending extravagantly and had a huge amount of online loans, and that he had only recently dealt with the divorce and the online loans. Even Otto appeared on the live stream, tearfully saying that I was a bad mother and didn't feed him enough. His mindless fans quickly identified me and sent me all kinds of abusive messages, not even sparing my social media accounts, transferring a penny and saying they would buy me a wreath. Day after day, as soon as I opened my eyes, I would see a sea of malice. But Patrick forgot that he had truly offended a group of smart and capable young people who were just lacking a good opportunity. They saw the problem clearly and found the root of the issue immediately. A few days later, someone dug up Patrick's previous videos, where he said he didn't have a team and was personally responsible for the script and editing. Now, how did he pull a staff member out to take the blame? It was time. On my newly created account, I posted the original drafts of the scripts I had written for Patrick over the years, and I specially highlighted the finalization date on the system. Just as I was about to post my divorce certificate on the platform and accuse Patrick of infidelity during the marriage, I fainted. Due to the mental stress and emotional ups and downs of recent days, my low blood sugar condition flared up. I have always had anemia, and I haven't been eating well, so my body couldn't take it anymore. When I woke up, Patrick and Otto were standing in front of me. They sent me to the hospital. Both of them, big and small, were softly asking about me. "Lily, are you okay? Mom, are you okay?" The father and son said in unison, which made me a little confused, thinking that I was really so tired that I was hallucinating. I steadied myself and looked at him in confusion. Why am I here? Otto rolled his eyes and looked at Patrick guiltily. "Isn't it because me and your son were worried that you couldn't bear the cyberbullying, so we wanted to come home to see you? I didn't expect you to faint. If it weren't for us, you would have died of old age at home, and no one would know." I was a little confused and felt weak all over. The child rushed over and hugged my arm ingratiatingly. "Mom, I don't really want you and Dad to separate either." I awkwardly pulled my hand away. "Stop it. I've already divorced Patrick, and you've said you don't recognize me as your mother. Something is wrong." I asked Patrick to return my phone to me, but he made an excuse that he had left it at home and didn't bring it with him. I insisted on being discharged from the hospital, but he, contrary to his usual self, asked me to stay in the hospital and recover well. In the past, when I was sick, he wouldn't let me go to the hospital and told me to just tough it out at home. I don't have a job and my Social Security has been discontinued. He complained that I didn't have medical insurance and that it was too expensive to see a doctor. The two of them, father and son, were staring at me like I was a criminal. For the next 3 or 4 days, I couldn't be discharged from the hospital. I just felt more and more uncomfortable staying here. Although I had 3 meals a day, I always felt weak and fell asleep drowsily. "I just have low blood sugar. I want to go home." I had a bad feeling. Something must have happened online. 7. I noticed that between 1 and 3 a.m. every day, Patrick would slip out. Otto slept soundly, making this the perfect window for my escape. That night, forcing myself to stay awake, I crept out of the ward, only to hear that familiar voice. Terrified, I hid in the nearby utility room and peered out through the small window. There they were, Patrick and Kylie. They lingered there for a while, their hushed voices carrying from the dimly lit corridor. When they were finished, Kylie chided, "You're divorced. Why do we have to sneak around like this?" Oh, I was blinded by anger before, and in a fit of rage, I took her to the Civil Affairs Bureau. "She's still worth something. Once this is over, we'll take the money and become the bosses of an investment company. Why would we want to be in front of the camera all the time?" There was an undeniable glee in Kylie's voice. It's a good thing you're smart and managed to control her in time. When I saw her faint at home, I really wanted to strangle her right there. Patrick said through gritted teeth, but I still need her now. Worth something? I was puzzled. I watched as Kylie handed Patrick a package, and then they parted ways. When Patrick returned to the ward and found me missing, he was in a panic and immediately started looking for me. I hid in that small room, barely daring to breathe. After they left, I sneaked out of the hospital. I had 5 yuan left in my pocket, which I had originally saved to buy Otto breakfast. I went to an internet cafe. Patrick had deliberately prevented me from going online. He deleted the clarification video on my account and guided public opinion to say that I deleted it because I was guilty. Not only that, but someone, I don't know who, had leaked bed photos, several of them with different men's faces. And the woman asleep in bed was me. Patrick cried on his main account that I loved to spend money and cheated, and that I often went to bars to keep male models. From then on, malice poured over me like a tidal wave. And yet, I remained silent online, as if admitting to everything. Using the victim card, Patrick easily erased the matter of the mocking video and became a big internet celebrity who was pitted by everyone. It turned out that he had drugged me to take pictures of me when I was unconscious. He kept me confined to the hospital to silence me. I logged into my cloud account and posted 4 or 5 videos on my own account. Fortunately, Patrick hadn't thought to change the password. He hadn't expected me to have a backup plan. Patrick's usual home behavior of verbally abusing the underprivileged was captured by the home surveillance camera. I edited the clips and stored them on the cloud, just in case. There were also many scenes of him belittling me. He would sit at the computer desk, point at me, and call me a parasite, a worthless old hag. At that time, I was crawling on the ground to wipe the floor because he said the mop was full of bacteria and insisted that I wipe it with a rag bit by bit. When I gave birth to Otto, my lumbar spine slipped and my waist ached after wiping for a while. I sat down with my waist supported, and he started to mock me for being so pampered at home that I got tired just from wiping the floor. And there was more. Patrick and his son watched Kylie's live broadcast, and the hand that was giving tips never stopped. I put the cut fruit in front of the two of them, and Otto pointed at an oxidized apple with disgust and said that I was an old sow. Patrick didn't defend me. Instead, he compared me to Kylie, and then looked at Otto and smiled. There were many more clips, and I selected them one by one and posted them on my account. I had previously posted videos of cooking and doing housework, which had created an image of me working hard at home. The comments under the video gradually increased, and there was a tendency to explode. I went to Kylie's account and left a message, exposing my divorce documents with Patrick and accusing her of being a mistress and Patrick of cheating on his marriage. I was running out of internet data, so I had to leave. I went to the police station and reported Patrick for attempting to murder me and requested a restraining order. After taking care of these matters, I went home with the police. Otto was sitting in the living room, crying, and when he saw me open the door, he ran up and hugged me.
8.
Mom, Dad is missing. I can't find him, so I had to come home by myself. Mom, you won't leave me like Dad, will you? Otto might not know what Patrick and Kylie did. His attitude towards me in the hospital these few days has been lukewarm, just like his selfish and self-centered self before. He burrowed into my arms, looking at me with teary eyes. Mom, I woke up in the hospital and I was all alone. Where's Dad? I hated Patrick, but when I saw my son's tears, my heart softened uncontrollably. I wiped his face and sighed softly. Children don't hold grudges for long, and I think he still knows about my feelings for him all these years. When he's alone and helpless, he knows I'm the one he can rely on. The police told me that Patrick and Kylie's IP addresses were no longer in the province. They had blatantly revealed their address during their live broadcasts, and I saw that people under his account had already exposed Kylie's address. They probably went into hiding because they felt they had aroused public anger. After all, those who have nothing to lose are not afraid of those who have something to lose. I stayed at home with Otto for a few peaceful days. Perhaps knowing that he no longer had a backer, Otto's temperament changed drastically, and he even learned to ingratiate himself with me. As soon as he got home from school that day, he wrapped his arms around my waist and said softly, "Mom, our school is organizing a parent-child trip this weekend. Can you go with me?" I had recently taken on some copywriting jobs online, and I had a little spare money so I could take my child out to play. However, I was a little afraid because I didn't know where Patrick was. All my classmates are going, and if I don't go, they will laugh at me. "Mom, I haven't gone out to play with you for a long time." Since it was a school-organized activity, it should be relatively safe. I had never had the chance to take Otto out to play because Patrick controlled me, but now that I could make my own money, it would be good to make it up to my child. In a moment of excitement, I agreed. The school organized a parent-child trip to the seaside. It was the peak season for beachcombing, and I had a great time with Otto. After dinner, we had free time. We were supposed to meet up again the next morning to leave. Otto was holding my hand and walking along the beach, chattering nonstop, calling me Mom, over and over again. Once upon a time, this was our daily routine. "Otto, it's time for you to go to bed." I interrupted my child's chatter in time. "Mom, let's walk a little further." "No, we have to meet at 7 a.m. tomorrow, and you won't be able to get up." Otto looked at me with eyes that slowly changed from grievance to resentment. He stared at me straight in the eye and said that I wasn't a good mother. I didn't understand, and I patiently persuaded him. "Children who don't get enough sleep won't grow tall. It's all your fault. All the kids in my class laugh at my dad and say I'm a vampire's child. I have everything I want with my dad, but because of you, my dad has to hide. You're the worst mother in the world. You only have a good life because of Dad, and just because Dad has a good relationship with Aunt Kylie, you want to ruin him." My son's words made my head spin. I didn't know where he heard such nonsense. In the end, it turned out to be my fault. I had a bad feeling about this. I pulled Otto and was about to turn back when I saw Patrick. Before I could scream, he covered my mouth and nose. Because we were far from the crowd, no one noticed my struggle.
9.
They dragged me to the shore. Otto covered my mouth, while Patrick tied stones to my legs. Before I could react, Patrick pushed me into the sea. No wonder they brought me to this place, because it's a sheer drop-off into the water. I fell into the deep water without any transition, as if I had fallen off a cliff into the water. The icy seawater flooded my senses, and through the blur, I heard Patrick and Otto laughing heartily. I finally don't have to live with this disgusting woman. I can go back to Dad. "Don't worry, son. The insurance payout I bought for your mother is huge. Since she's not sick, let's just let her have an accident." "Great, Dad. Let's take the money and go find Kylie, and we'll make a fortune right away." The salty seawater washed over my face again and again, and I couldn't even cry. I never thought my son, whom I had carried for 10 months, would try to kill me. The warmth I felt these past few days was all an act, put on by Otto at Patrick's behest to get the insurance money. I had almost forgotten that 2 years ago, Patrick bought me a huge life insurance policy, and the beneficiary was his name. However, Patrick had overlooked one thing. He thought I couldn't swim. Actually, when I was discharged from the hospital after my allergy, the doctor suggested that I swim more to strengthen my body. Otto goes to school during the day, so he doesn't know that I signed up for swimming classes. But I had stones tied to my feet. I struggled to twist my body, and I noticed that the ropes binding my feet were getting thinner. That's right, if I had stones tied to my feet, it wouldn't look like an accidental drowning. I pulled hard on the rope. It was actually water-soluble. Holding my breath, I took some time to tear off the rope. Without the weight, I felt my body become lighter, and I began to float towards the shore. Fortunately, I had supplemented my nutrition for the past few days, and my physical condition was much better. After 10 minutes, I swam to the shore and lay on the beach, gasping for fresh air. The cold sea breeze blew away the sticky water on my body, and the piercing cold gradually brought me back to my senses from the fear of death. I looked up at the dark sky, and my confused mind was gradually filled with hatred. Patrick, Otto, I will make you regret it.
10.
The next day, Patrick frantically reported me missing. I sat in a nearby cafe, wearing a mask and a baseball cap, quietly watching them perform. At the bar, I heard people discussing, their phones in their hands, and they were talking about Kylie. Isn't she the internet celebrity who was on the hot search a while ago? The one who was a mistress? She's been exposed. I heard that besides that Patrick guy, she has a lot of sugar daddies behind her. She's just a pure scammer, seducing men everywhere to get money. She said she opened an investment company a while ago, but it's just an empty shell. I held an iced coffee in my hand and couldn't help but curl the corner of my mouth hidden behind the mask. I looked at the hypocritical Patrick and Otto in the distance, and I couldn't help but laugh when I thought of how they would look when they found out their money was gone. Patrick thought he had found true love, but he didn't expect it to be a pig-butchering scam. He was pretending to rush into the sea. Not far away, someone was taking pictures with their phone. Even at this time, he didn't forget to use a dead person to create a deep and affectionate persona. I couldn't help but put down my cup and stood up, watching the show. After performing for a while, Patrick started to get impatient, crossed his arms, and pointed at the sea. Why is there still no news? Can't you even find a body? Otto echoed. Mom, give my mom back to me. At that time, no one knew that these two had tried to kill me for the insurance money. The salvage team found nothing, and were about to start looking for people elsewhere. But Patrick insisted that they keep looking. Without a body, he couldn't collect the money. I took off my mask, knowing it was time. 11. My appearance attracted everyone's attention. Patrick and Otto, seeing me alive, were so flustered that they didn't know what to do for a moment. They rushed forward and grabbed me, stammering out words. They didn't know that I had heard everything they discussed last night. In front of the police, I accused them of trying to kill me. What nonsense are you talking? It was my son who found you missing and contacted me, and that's why I came here. If I wanted to kill you, would I turn myself in? I looked at him coldly, my mind replaying his murderous face over and over again. The peanut cake, the sleeping pills, and finally pushing me into the ICC. Because of your huge life insurance policy. So that's what worth something meant. Patrick and Otto were arrested and taken away by the police to be interrogated. I got into another car and went back to give my statement. Unexpectedly, on the way back, Otto said he needed to use the restroom and, taking advantage of everyone's distraction, ran away with Patrick. Hearing this news, a wave of fear washed over me, and I looked around vigilantly, afraid that Patrick would come back and seek revenge on me. Unable to find the father and son, I could only apply for a protection order and stayed home for a whole week, afraid to go out. Finally, instead of waiting for Patrick, I received news of a violent incident. Kylie, who was involved in a financial scandal, was planning to flee the country discreetly. Unexpectedly, as soon as she went out, Patrick, who had lost his mind, stabbed her. The person who was with Kylie was her real husband, and when he saw this, he stepped forward to try to control Patrick. In the scuffle, Patrick accidentally stabbed Otto, who had been pushed forward as a shield. The security guards eventually discovered the commotion, and the two men were wrestling on the ground, restraining each other. Kylie and Otto died from excessive bleeding. As I was reading the news, I breathed a sigh of relief, but I still felt uneasy. Patrick's final revenge was on Kylie. I had mixed feelings. After escaping death twice, I felt nothing but hatred for Patrick. But when I heard the news of Otto's death, my heart ached. A 7-year-old child who hadn't yet developed a sense of right and wrong. If I had paid more attention to him earlier and prevented him from knowing Kylie, would the outcome have been different? The more sad I was, the more I thought about the good times we had. Now, I was the only one left to handle Otto's funeral, and I had to face Patrick in court. He was my ex-husband and the murderer of my child. Suddenly, I received a message saying that Patrick wanted to see me.
12.
Patrick, when he saw me, started crying and sobbing, one confession after another. My mind was blank, and looking at him through the glass didn't feel real. I didn't really listen to what he was saying. It's all my fault. I listened to Kylie. I had such a good wife, such a good family, and I destroyed it with my own hands. I was blinded by greed. Every second I've been hiding, I've been filled with regret. Lily, you have to live a good life from now on. I wish you happiness. His tear-stained face was extremely unsightly, and his long, unkempt hair covered half of his face, making him look very sloppy. If it were before, I might have felt a pang of heartache. But the man in front of me was the one who had tried to kill me twice. I looked at him coldly. Is there anything else you want to say? I have work to do later. He must have called me here for more than just confession. I didn't mean to kill Otto. You know I love that child the most. Can you give me a letter of forgiveness? So, at this moment, he was still thinking about himself. I held the phone, non-committal. What a self-centered person. The glass was a bit reflective, casting a dim light on his face. It was true that Otto wanted to kill me, but he was also the child I had given birth to after a difficult pregnancy. It was ridiculous. The man I loved for so many years had killed our child and was now trying to get my forgiveness. He had used the child, and now he wanted to use me. So, let him rot in jail for the rest of his life. In the end, Patrick was sentenced to life imprisonment. I couldn't tell whether the tears he shed in court were real or fake. After going through all this, I was immune to him. Because of this incident, there was even more discussion about me online. Many stay-at-home moms spoke out for me, condemning the heartless scumbag for cheating and trying to murder his wife for insurance money. I replied seriously to every comment in the comment section. Even as a stay-at-home mom, we should find our own value. Even if we can't find a job right now, we should believe that gold will always shine. We don't need to be troubled by one man. When I put myself first, there will be no more blades to hurt me in this world.